Good morning for all of you starting to come in on this great red day. We know that attendance may be low because everyone's out celebrating Mo Anderson's birthday by giving back. Way to go, Marian. So today we have Pam and Marian that are going to be joining us to talk about reference checks. As you know, the career visioning and KPA process is lengthy. It's lengthy for a reason. Part of the results that you get back from the KPA is a printout, and it provides you 10 really good questions that can help with your reference checks. So if you've never done this before, it gives you a little guidance. If you're a KW talent member, we encourage you to reach out to other talent members to do role playing. This is a key activity where role playing with someone else could really help sharpen your skill set. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the ladies to introduce themselves and start with giving us a personal example of when you did reference checks and it was a positive or negative experience, or maybe you didn't do reference checks and you wish you did. So turning it over to you two.
Well, Marian, alphabetical order.
All right, great. I'll go first. Well, my name is Marian Benton, as you see from the screen, and I'm the regional owner for the Inland Empire region in California. I've been teaching CV for many years. I think one of the first groups of people that were approved to do it, and before that I taught Recruit Select, the RSTLN course. So I've been in the teaching role for this course for many years. Today we're talking specifically about reference checks. And one of the hats that I wear at Keller Williams as the regional owner is we have to review CV packages when they come in from the region, as they approve or as they rather select new leadership in their market centers. And one of the things that is the easiest for our leaders to overlook is the reference checks. And I think Pam and I are here today to tell you that probably you could miss a lot of other things and it wouldn't be good, but to miss the reference checks, you absolutely have the biggest opportunity to fail if you don't do it. And, I can share with you from my own personal experience that reference checks just open up your CV process to allow you to have an insight that you just haven't, you would get eventually, probably after being with that person for several months. And in my own experience, to give you a specific story, I was hiring a team leader for a market center that I own. And, like I told you at the beginning, I'm a CV instructor, so we always check references. But some of those questions, when you're new at it, they're hard to ask. You're having a conversation with somebody and you've got to say to them, well, would you hire this person again? And then you have to listen to what they tell you. And you have to ask them, well, thank you ever so much for all of the feedback that you've given me. Is there possibly somebody who would know this candidate better than you that I could call? That's not really an easy question. It doesn't flow quite with them because they're like, oh, really? And you learn how to ask it better. But I went into a reference check without asking that question. It was tough for me to ask. This is, I will, say, many years ago. And in one of the references that he had given me that was on the list, he wrote that that this person didn't know him very well. So I called that lady and she gave me a really bad reference, which stood out like a sore thumb, because all of the references that I had got for this team leader were really good. I mean, really good. Like, I couldn't wait to hire him. And then I got this one really bad reference. And I went to talk to my team about it. And everyone said, that's just so odd, Marian. You need to find out why. So I went back and called some of the other references that I had already spoken to, and gave them a little bit, because you have to be so careful confidentially, gave them a little bit of an indication that somebody had said something negative to me. And I got my answer. The person gave me, they asked me specifically, did so-and-so tell you this? The reason they said that was because he took their job when they came, it was in a title situation and blah, blah, blah. But I would have not hired him just if I hadn't gone deeper and figured out, why did I get that reference? Why did that person say those things? Because when you've got a whole bunch of good references and then you suddenly get one bad one, the only one you remember is the bad one. So, but here's the thing, is that it just opened up a whole new level of opportunity for me to really understand how this person operated. And he came on board and he was a great team leader for several many years. But I would have had to have dealt with that later, and it wouldn't have been as nice as it was when I had the opportunity before he was hired. So don't miss the reference checks. Pam.
So I'm Pam O'Bryant. I've been Keller Williams since '97. I've been an agent with a team leader, general manager, opened Keller Williams in the UK. And let's see, right now I am, what am I? I'm KW Talent. That's what I am. I'm KW Talent and I'm master faculty, and I don't actually have any other official roles right now, which is kind of fun. So two stories that I would say about reference checks. I know of a market center, and I won't say where, that, and I personally know this is not hearsay, I personally know this market center that hired an MCA and later discovered, due to some unfortunate circumstances, that this person had spent 5 years in federal prison for embezzlement. Now, if there's a 5-year gap in somebody's employment, I feel like I would ask better questions. I would like to think that I would. So reference checks are important, and not just the first person that they give you. I had a very recent experience where I was looking to hire and did the reference checks, and the first person I called said, "They gave you my name? How odd." And I thought, "Yes, why is that odd? Please elaborate." She's like, "We haven't spoken in probably 10 years." I'm like, "Really?" Okay, so we had a nice conversation. I asked the questions. I just ask all the questions, and I literally just say, I have these questions that I ask them for everybody, so it's equal opportunity. It's the same questions I ask every single person, and I say the same thing the same time. And they'll go, "Oh, okay, that's cool." And I said, "Well, who else?" And she's like, "Well, you could call this person, but we really have not even heard from this woman in years." Okay. And then I called the next reference who said, "Huh, okay." And it was also odd. And I thought, what in the world is going on here? And none of them were particularly glowing. Like, there was not a single good reference. And I thought, you went back 10 plus years and it still wasn't a good reference?
Yeah.
This is really so odd. So I just kept digging and calling other people because I'm well connected in that area. So I just kept calling other people that I thought might know her. And nobody was tremendously excited. Like, would I hire her again? Yeah. Yeah. Um, it was just the strangest thing. And like literally we were about ready to make an offer. And I'm like, no, we're doing reference checks. We don't make offers without reference checks. And I know that you're in love with this person and she seems really great. Nope, we're not doing it.
The first fatal flaw of reference checks is do not fall in love with the person, right?
Yeah.
Can't. So did you hire that person, or did you dig deeper? Did you find out what was going on? No.
No, so I didn't want to call anybody she was currently working with because I felt like that would be
Yeah. Weird.
detrimental. And the most recent place that she had worked, which had been about 4 or 5 years, they were still just like, meh, meh. And I don't have room in my life for meh.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like
exactly.
KW Talent, dang it.
Right. You wanted to be excited about the person you hired, and all those people weren't. So yeah.
None of them were excited, not a single person. And I could see if maybe if it was one, right? Like you had mentioned that there was all these good ones in one, but it was 100% across the board. Meh.
Yeah.
What encouragement would you give to someone who is doing reference checks in a leadership role for the first time, and they ask the first reference, can you give me a second one? We know that's all normal being in the Keller Williams world, but the outside world, it really takes them back if you're calling a reference that has no idea what Keller Williams Realty is all about. So, what are some of the suggestions or recommendations you can give to our viewers to overcome that kind of weirdness of someone going, you want me to do what?
Mm. Well, I love what Pam said about using the list and just telling everybody. We have at the beginning of the conversation, when you introduce yourself and you tell them that you're going to be making that you ask them, do they have the time? Are we ready to do it? And then you say to them, well, I just have a list of questions here. It's part of our process. If you could give me 10 or 15 minutes to go through these with you. It usually takes a bit longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to at least, if you say I want half an hour, they're like, oh, well, I can't do it. So if you ask for 15 minutes and you only get 15 minutes, at least you get the opportunity to talk to them. And maybe if it really needs to, set it up later. But the easiest way is to let them understand that you are just checking things off. This is what you ask. And yes, Angela, they are always, especially once you get a little bit on the outside of Keller Williams, they're all like, wow, okay, well, let me think. And, then they'll come back and give you a name. And then it's even a bit awkward to say, oh, do you happen to have their phone number? So sometimes, you ask, but they usually they don't always want to give that to you. Also, the other thing that you come into when you're outside is people feel very concerned about the legalities. I'm in California, so I always go to the litigious side of this. And once you get outside of Keller Williams, people are very, very cautious about what they'll give you. And many times they'll say things to you like, well, I just would refer you to our HR department and they can give you the information. And then HR are going to say, yes, that's their correct name and date of birth. And they worked here on this, they started on this date and ended on that date, and you're done. So you kind of have to find somebody who's willing to have a little chat with you about that person, and you have to promise them confidentiality. But that's how I would say to do it when you're on your first first few tries, is just to have that list by the side of you, and maybe even a pen if you're on a Zoom, hopefully, and you can say, okay, well, the next question I have here, like you're just reading it, you've never seen it before, well, the next question says da da da. That way, it's just like I'm filling out a form as opposed to I'm personally asking you, tell me about this person's inside behavior.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. When you couch it as in order to make the process fair for everybody, we ask the exact same questions every single time in the exact same way. That definitely helps. The other thing, when it comes to logistics, what I've learned is if I write while I'm doing it, I can't read it when I'm done. And so I actually have exported that page to a Word document and I type as I do it. And I say, if I handwrite this, I just can't read it afterwards. Do you mind if I type this while I do it? And they never care. They're always fine with that. And when I ask for the other name, it's funny. I'll either get completely shut down, like, nope, I don't know anybody, or, let me think, who else might that be? And depending on how the conversation has gone, because I start with the questions around, I want this to be a great opportunity for this person. I want to really help them to grow and to, live up to their full potential. And in order to do that, it would really be helpful to me if I could learn some more things about them. Because, this person, you want what's best for them. I would like what's best for them as well. How do I help them? And when I sort of couch it that way, the other question you had asked was around wording. My favorite question that I like to ask is, if I could gift a magic wand and create the perfect job for this person, what would they be doing all week? So I asked it in my initial phone screens when I am interviewing candidates the first time. In my phone screen, my first question is always, I have a magic wand. I'm going to create the perfect job for you. What are you going to be doing all week? And if they can't answer that question, I have to question, okay, so tell me more. Like, what do you like doing? What are the things you like doing? Well, I like a challenge. No, 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 no. Like,
Right.
that's not going to fill up your week. What do you want to do?
Mm.
My favorite was a team leader candidate, went through all these things and then like, well, and recruiting, like, look, in 3 months you would hate your job and hate me, so cut to the chase and hate me today.
You both brought out two good points that I was taking notes on. So, Marian, you referenced that you would do it over Zoom. Pam, do you ever do these over Zoom? Because like back in the day, it was a phone call and you were taking notes on a piece of paper. So Pam, you answered my question. You're typing it, but are you on a Zoom with them? You're on the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's not.
I'm nearly, or in references, when we're checking references, for me anyway, I get whatever I can get. I'll invite them to a Zoom, and
Okay.
but most all of the time I'm on the phone because I'm just getting whatever I can get. I love it if I can get a Zoom because you get to watch that person's face as they interpret your questions, and that an expression can fill in a lot of gaps. So that is the best, but most all of the time we are on the phone, and we ask for a lot of references at Keller Williams. That's also rather insightful. You'll get people who send it back with 3. I'm like, nah. And again, I blame the form. I say, gosh, we have this process that requires us to check references in different categories of your sphere of influence. So could you see if you could find me a few more and send it back again? I also I loved Pam's example at the very beginning when she said that, the first the reference that she gave us the example about had gone back 10 years. I've also had that experience where nobody's recent. And on one occasion, I sent it back and I said, could you give us references from people who knew you more recently in the last few years? And I didn't get them, and that was it. We didn't hire them. Because what more do you need to know? You don't have anybody recently who can vouch for you. So I think that's a really good point. The other thing too is, and Pam's probably had the same experience, is I'll have references and none of them will call me back. None of them. And I'm just like, I'm sure I could find 9 people who would be willing to call back. That tells you that these people don't care enough about the person to even make that call and set that appointment up. So we're all busy. We all have, lots of things to do, but I think that's very telling. I mean, fair enough. You may have 1 or maybe even 2 people that it's just been really hard to nail down the time with the sort of mutual convenience. But I can't, once it starts to get the majority of those references that they give, don't call, don't answer the phone, don't respond to the voicemail, don't email you back, don't text you. I mean, yeah, that tells you a lot.
I've been in the Keller system for 20 plus years. So I've got a lot of friends that are, market center level, regional level, and we've all moved around in different roles. But one of the things we've always done is if one of us is moving around and we're going to put their name as a reference, we give them a heads up and we say, hey, so-and-so is going to be calling you. You're not going to recognize their phone number, but please answer it. I'm having you down as a reference. So I have found for me personally, that has helped whoever's been hiring me to get references because I've given my people the heads up.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't like it when they don't tell the people that we're going to call. It's almost rude, right? And again, it tells you something else. Now, for me, it's rude, but I sometimes have cultural expectations based on the fact that I grew up in England. So, to me, to give somebody a reference and not tell them, that's just plain rude. But it's not always not everybody in the US would think that that was an
Mhm.
absolute necessity to tell other people. So you have to be careful what your personal expectations are.
Pam, when you opened up the Market Center in the UK, do they use the reference checks in this whole process just like we do here in the States? They do. Okay.
It's KW, it's KW, it's KW.
It's true.
Mhm.
One of you said, I asked the question and I listen. I think that is the biggest point to our listeners, that yes, you're asking the questions, but your biggest job is to listen and hear what they are not saying and hear what they are saying, right? Because sometimes what they don't say screams louder than what they say.
And they will sometimes coach the question, coach the answer. And you have to be very insistent in going back and saying, well, I need to answer exactly this. Could you elaborate on this part of it? Because, you know, especially if they want to give them a good reference. The other thing that you have to be really careful about is, or just mindful of, really, I don't know if careful is the right word, but I've often had people give relatives, close relatives, I've had people give me their mother, not tell me it was their mother. Yeah, and that's come out. Because mom didn't mind saying she was mom. He just didn't want to say that I've given you mom. I had a lovely chat with her, by the way. But you know, I mean,
Did you hire him?
I did hire him, yes. But you know, and he said, well, I want to give you people who are going to say nice things about me. So I gave you my mom. I just, you know, I laughed with him about it. But he gave me a lot of other references too, so it was okay. But most of the time, that second, let's talk a bit, because I think it's really key. You know, lots of times when you first start this CV process, the weakest area within the references is you don't get second level, and certainly not third level follow-up references. And honestly, that's where for me anyway, that's where I found out the most revealing things about that person. And the whole idea here is that I want to go into a relationship which is going to be good for you and good for me. I don't want to, you know, the worst thing that can happen to you personally is you come and I fire you. And the worst thing that can happen to me is that you come and I fire you, because I got to start all over again. It's disruptive to the environment that I'm replacing. And so I want to get it right. So calling that second level of references gives you such a different take on the person, because most of the time, everybody in the first level has been coached by this person. Hey, Pam, would you give me a reference? I'm applying for this job. Please let them know that I did blah, 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 blah. You know, I've prepped her. Everybody's going to do that. If I had to go for another job right now, I would do the same thing. Hey, they're going to call you. This is what I want them to know. Please tell them this about me. But that second level has had no coaching. And they just give you a raw opinion of that person. And it's very helpful. It allows you to see if it's a recruiter, how other people are going to perceive them, that they're recruiting. It's going to give you insights as to how they operate, not just in their circle of friends, but how they operate beyond that. And depending on the position that you're hiring for, that can be key to the success.
So I'm going to start wrapping this up. We do have some folks on live, and I want them to know that if you have any questions for the co-host, drop them in the chat and we'll address those. And I wanted to make sure Pam was referencing the reference checks that she downloads as a PDF. So that's all part of the KPA packet results. So you can just download that and create that as a Word form so that you've got that all documented.
So much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier.
Does not look like we have any questions, so I'm going to ask both you ladies to give us a one or 2 minute wrap up of your mic drop moments of wisdom to give to our listeners.
You go first, Pam, because I went first last time.
Okay. Well, first I would say There's one question on there about the person that I'm looking for needs to exhibit a high level of blank. And for me, the answer is always resourcefulness. And that's just my thing, right? Because it will make me nuts if you want to come ask me every little stupid question, to the point where I will tell people that if I'm gonna do your job for you, then I'm gonna also get your paycheck. Go figure it out. So I think there's that. But the real takeaway from this is follow the process. Just follow the process. There's a beautiful process for you. It's helpful if you go through it ahead of time. And even if you don't, just read the words on the page. If you just do that, you're pretty much guaranteed a better outcome than if you don't. So trust the process. The process has been deeply vetted by people who care an awful lot, like Marian, and they know that when you follow the process. So I haven't taught CV. What I do is I know Marian's smarter than me in this. I'm going to do what she says. I'm just going to follow the process.
So I was going to say follow the process, so she totally took my thunder. So, but here's the thing about the CV process is that it's long, and you can cut it. There's certain areas that you can make it go faster as long as you do follow everything. You can cut it down in time wise, but you do have to make sure that you do everything. But here's one of the things that I think we really, kind of take to heart when we're doing it is that be transparent with the person that you're talking to. Let the candidate understand at the onset. Don't try and make it sound like this is the only interview they're going to have, and well, I'm going to have you back. Don't do that. Tell them exactly what they're in for. Say, hey, at Keller Williams, we have this daunting hiring process. This is why we have it. This is why we do it. We do it because we want you to have a wonderful experience here with us. And if this isn't the right job for you, we want you to see that before you come. We don't want you to come and be unhappy. So if you lay it out for them ahead of time, it makes it, now you're not apologizing all the time. You've got to, well, there's one more thing you've got to do. You've got to come back and meet the team now. I mean, if you do that, they can seriously start to think, are these people for real? I mean, I've interviewed 3 times now, and I still don't know the details about the job. I'm not feeling good about this. You want them to feel good about it. And the best way to do it is to be totally transparent on the very first time after you do that introductory call and you've decided, yes, I'm going to send them a KPA. I'm going to follow this through. At that time, you say, okay, so something I have to tell you. And I usually make a little joke of it. Say, I'm just going to warn you up front. And then I let them understand this is what the process is all the way. And they say, well, how long could it take? And I said, well, I don't really know to tell you exactly, because it depends how long you take to do the KPA when we're able to set the appointments up. But I can tell you that we will follow each and every one of them, and we'll work as quickly as you do, if that's the case. If it isn't, if I say to them, I have a lot of candidates, I can't give you a timeline right now, but I can promise you that we will be thorough and that we will consider everything. So transparency in this process is very helpful and will make it very easy for you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, ladies. Now go out and do your Red Day events, your community service, and we look forward to seeing everybody back next month for CV and Caffeine. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.